Welcome back to the den. This is your boy Wolf coming at you with another in-depth breakdown of, this time we have UA, otherwise known as Ultra Athletes, another archetype coming into the 14th main box, the newest box that's upcoming probably after this next KC Cup that we have. Again, I have the leaked video on my page if you want to go take a look and see what's all in that box. Otherwise, we're going to get right into the Ultra Athletes. This time I have some help from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Wikia, just to give you a little introduction to what UAs are when they were introduced, and just a little background. So UA, short for Ultra Athletes, is an archetype of Earth Warrior monsters that debuted in Duelist Alliance. It was one of two TCG exclusive archetypes to debut in that set, the other being the Burning Abyss. Now, why am I reading this? Maybe you care, maybe you don't care, but what you can pull from it, knowledge-wise, is these are Earth Warriors. They are all Earth Warriors. Maybe you want to tech in some cards when you play the deck that help Earth monsters. Maybe you want to tech in some cards that help Warrior monsters. But now that the introduction is done, let's get right into the cards themselves. Now, there are only, I believe, about 6 cards of UA. And I know what you're thinking, how can I make a deck and be competitive? These cards are pretty juicy. So let's get right into the first one. UA Midfielder. This is the combo starter right here. He is an ultra rare. So what I would suggest is, I think there's only one ultra rare. He's the only ultra rare. If you get him, reset the box. Like right away, reset the box. If all you care about are the UA archetypes and you need a playset of him, so reset the box after getting him. He's going to be Earth Warrior, 4-star, 1200 attack, 1000 defense. I know what you're thinking. Weak attack, weak defense. How can he possibly be the combo starter? Well, for one, he's a midfielder. Don't disrespect the midfielders. You can special summon this card from your hand by returning one UA monster you control to the hand except UA midfielder, so he can special summon himself. And you can only special summon UA midfielder once per turn this way. But during either player's turn, you can target one other UA monster you control, return that face-up monster to the hand, and special summon one UA monster from your hand with a different name from that monster. You can only use the effect of UA midfielder once per turn. So, while on the field, he can one, special summon himself if he's not on the field. Then once on the field, he can send another UA monster back to the hand to bring out another UA monster, which could be pretty clutch. And now that I'm reading his effect again, let's see, return target, okay, one other. So I thought, well, you know, it says one other UA monster, but it doesn't specify name. So maybe you have 2 midfielders on the board. You can send another midfielder back to your hand. So that could be a pretty nice, pretty clutch effect right there. But he's the combo starter. You're going to want to place at a 3. So like I said, I recommend that as soon as you see him, reset the box. If all you care about is UA, reset the box after you get one UA midfielder. Next up, we have UA Stadium. And this is going to be an SR field spell. I don't know how many you want to run of this. Maybe you want to run 1, maybe you want to run 2. A nice thing, I'm skipping ahead here just a little bit, but the UA spell, field spell combo is nice because UA penalty box, once in the grave, can banish itself to search. Now these are both SRs, so maybe best case scenario, you find one of this, and then one of the UA midfielder. That's an easy reset of the box because you get 2 SRs. You get 2 SRs. But Stadium's effect is actually pretty key. If a UA monster is normal summoned to your side of the field, you can add one UA monster from your deck to your hand. Once per turn, if a UA monster is special summoned to your side of the field, all monsters you currently control gain 500 attack, even if this card leaves the field. So that's a permanent 500. And it says all monsters you currently control. That is not exclusive to UA. So maybe you have a big boy Monarch teched in, and the Monarch is on the field. It could be Zaboric, it could be Grand Mark, it could be any Monarch you want, but that Monarch would then gain a permanent 500 boost every time a UA monster is special summoned. Or Maybe you want to be really cheesy and swarm the board as much as you can. Maybe you tech in a Dinotherium. I know what you're thinking. Dinotherium is only 1600, but Dinotherium is a free special summon. Most times you special summon Dinotherium. Dinotherium does not have the secondary part of his effect, where if your opponent has a level 4 monster in their grave, it could be special summoned. Dinotherium normally is a first turn special summon, so your opponent won't have the monster in the grave, but you special summon him, then you do your UA shenanigans, you special summoning maybe 1 up to 2, that Dinotherium then becomes a 2100, and then a 2600, and then it keeps rising. So you can really get into some shenanigans just from this field spell. So maybe you want to run 2 so you can at least have a chance of opening it. And again, you can also search for a UA once per turn. Or remember, if a UA monster normally summons to your side of the field, yeah, you can add 1 UA monster from your deck to your hand. So you can replenish your resources. You can find what UA monster you want to special summon. If you don't open midfield and you open this and can just normal summon any other monster. And also Dinotherium would help because there's some big boys in this deck, and Dinotherium would help you if you don't open midfielder to then special summon itself and then sacrifice it for, let's say, Slugger, who is a 5-star. And I think there might be another one that could be special summoned as well. Not him, but maybe Rebounder. Yeah, Rebounder is 6 stars. So Dinotherium might be a really nice tech-in card for this deck, and it won't just be out there as fodder if it stays on the field, because you would then gain the 500 boost as well from the field spell. So something to keep in mind. But the crux of the deck, the centerpiece. I know you thought midfield was the centerpiece. No, my boys. The centerpiece is going to be UA penalty box, aka Onslaught number dos. Now I know what you're saying. Onslaught, that's a bold claim. This is a continuous trap card with both an effect that can happen on the field and in the grave. Let's get into the effect. At the start of damage step, if your UA monster battles an opponent's monster, you can banish that opponent's monsters until your opponent's second end phase. You can only use this effect of UA penalty box once per turn. What does that mean? Onslaught banishes forever, and all I have to do is touch the monster. Well, guess what? The pro of this, you don't have to touch the monster. It activates at the start of damage step. That means before you would swing into a monster that has beefy attack, let's say your opponent has 5-headed dragon on the field, 5,000. All you got is little old midfielder going up against a 5-headed dragon. I'm telling you, the midfielder wins as long as you have penalty box on your side of the field at the start of damage step. You banish it, and because it's at the start of damage step, you dodge certain things like a forbidden chalice. You dodge certain things like a mirror wall. Anything that could activate during the damage step, you would just, they can activate it if they want to, but it gets out the way because of this. And then yes, they get it back at their second end phase, but boy, that's a long time in between the banishing and the second end phase. They could probably lose the duel in that amount of time. So this is going to be something you want to tech in. And it also has an effect that if your opponent gets it off the field to the grave, you can banish this card from your grave to add 1 UA spell card from your deck to your hand. Maybe you want to tech in a double Cyclone. Double Cyclone. Target 1 spell or trap you control, 1 spell or trap your opponent controls, destroy it. So maybe after getting this effect off on your opponent's turn at the end phase, they set a card, you activate double Cyclone, send this to the grave, and then at the start of your next turn, you banish it and bring the field spell to your hand and start even more shenanigans. So maybe double Cyclone is a card that you want to take in. But as I stated previously, this card is also an SR along with Stadium. You might want 3 of this, but that's fine. As long as you get 1 in 1 of your first go through, 1 midfielder, and 1 penalty box, reset. That's it. That's the hard part. The hard part is over. Just pulling 1 in 1 of these before the reset, and the hard part is over, because guess what? The rest of these cards, they're rare. You get these basically for free. But the next card in this set is going to be UA Dreadnought Dunker. This is going to be a big boy. This is going to be 8 stars, I believe. Let me, hold on. My math right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, 7. Math is hard. 2500 attack, 1800 defense. Again, Earth Warrior. With an effect, you can special summon this card from your hand by returning one UA monster you control to the hand except UA Dreadnought Dunker. Are you getting the trend, guys? These guys, easy to get out. They one of probably some of the easiest monsters that you're gonna get out because they, as long as you have any UA monster on the field, special summon itself. You can only special summon UA Dreadnought Dunker once per turn this way. If this card attacks the defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can target one card on the field, destroy it. So, maybe with the double Cyclone, you cleared your opponent's back row. Maybe you don't have a penalty box and your opponent has two monsters on the field, one defense, maybe one attack. Maybe you swing with this guy, destroy the defense monster, inflict some battle damage, because chances are you're getting over whatever it is. You can then target one card on the field and destroy it. That's a back row, that's a monster, that's pretty nasty. And you can even target one of your own cards. So maybe you tech in Wild Tornado. Wild Tornado, when this card is destroyed face down, target a card on the field and destroy it. So maybe Dust Tornado is a tech in card. That I don't know, but if you're running double Cyclone, it's not crazy that you might run a Wild Tornado or two. But one thing you want to know, he has a really high attack, and as long as you have UA Stadium on the field, you special summon or normal summon anything while this guy's on the field, he becomes a 3000 attacker. I know what you're thinking, 3000 attack, is that a lot these days? Yes, because what is the most prevalent thing that you have to get over? Wiz. Wiz has 2800 defense. If this dude becomes a 3000 attacker, you're attacking over Wiz and popping another furry, because let's be honest here, they're going to have another furry on board. So this guy is a guy that you want to play and that you want to get to your hand as quick as possible, because I think he's going to lead to some pretty nasty combos. Next up, we have UA Mighty Slugger. This guy's out here hitting home runs, grand slams, you name it, he hits it. A 5-star. That's going to combo well with Dinotherium. And he's a 2300 attacker, so he's no slouch. You don't want to see him in defense mode. 700 defense, but let's get into the effect. You can special summon this card from your hand by returning one UA monster you control to the hand except UA Mighty Slugger. You can only special summon UA Mighty Slugger once per turn this way. If this card attacks, your opponent cannot activate cards until the end of the damage step. So, he's a free attacker. They would have to activate before he swings anything they wanted to activate. Econ, which is going to be less prevalent as decks start to hit semi-limited and limited, or just semi-limited decks won't be able to run Econ, because chances are they're choosing the two of whatever's limited in the archetype over the Econ. So Econ less and less. You avoid Wall of Disruption with him. You avoid Mirror Walls with him. Honestly, you avoid, what else do you avoid? You might avoid, yeah, Widespread Ruins, which is becoming prevalent. You avoid a lot of things with this guy here. He's also going to be one of your key attackers that you want to include, maybe even 2 of, possible 3 in this deck. Next up, we got UA Rival Rebounder. Now, Rival Rebounder is 2200 attack, 2300 defense. This guy is pretty bulky all around, and a 6-star. Combos well with Dinotherium. And Dinotherium is an easy to get card as long as you've been doing your ranks and racking up those UR tickets. You can get a Dinotherium. Hopefully by now you got 2 or 3. But you can special summon this card from your hand by returning one UA monster you control to the hand except UA Rival Rebounder. You can only special summon one UA Rival Rebounder once per turn this way. If this card special summon during your opponent's turn or normal summon, you can special summon one UA monster from your hand or graveyard except UA Rival Rebounder. You can only use this effect of UA Rival Rebounder once per turn. So this guy, if this card is special summoned during your opponent's turn or normal summon, you can special summon one UA monster from your hand or graveyard. So, there might be a couple of ways to pull this off. It might be a little tricky, but this guy you definitely want just because it's an easy special summon thanks to this archetype. As 2200 attack, 2300 defense, a really nice defender. But a couple of ways to pull this particular effect off, I'm not really sure right now. Maybe there's a trap card out there that allows you to special summon during your opponent's turn, a tribute summon. I'm thinking of Monarchs right now. Maybe that Monarch trap card isn't specific to Monarch. Maybe it is, but regardless, this guy you're going to want to include in the deck just for the bulk, a nice special attacker or a nice special summon into a heavy attacker. And again, if Stadium's on the field, this guy gets a boost by 500 and that's permanent. So that's it for the monsters. Like I said, short and sweet. You only get 6 cards. But if we head back over to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Wikia, they have some more info for us, which is the playing style of the deck. So this might help you know what to tech in, how you want to play this deck. So all UA monsters share the same effect of special summoning themselves by returning a different UA monster to the field to the hand. The field spell UA Stadium can search a UA monster when another is normal summon and gets permanent attack boost of 500 to all your monsters when you special summon a UA monster for the first time during any turn, once per turn. Again, it's not limited to UA monsters, so that could lead to some really nice shenanigans. The basic strategy is to normal summon UA midfielder. Again, he's the centerpiece monster of the deck, allowing you to add a UA monster to your hand via the UA Stadium effect. Summon aggressive monsters like the UA Mighty Slugger, which we looked over. He stops your opponent from activating any effects or cards until he's done attacking. He said, hold on, wait a minute, I'm not finished. And UA Playmaker. Now we don't have Playmaker. During your main phase 1, attack using the protection that Slugger grants, then swap your monsters out during main phase 2. We don't have the main phase 2, so keep that in mind. It mentions some things such as tribute summons can be easily facilitated, so you might want to bring in some Monarchs, or you might want to bring in Feast of the Wild. Feast of the Wild special summons 2 level 5s, negate their effects, and it can attack during the turn, but maybe that could come in handy. I don't know. Anything else might be, they're talking about pendulums. Other than that's about it. Let's cover some weaknesses. UA archetype is extremely reliant on its first normal summon. Effects that remove the normal summon monster from the field can essentially end a UA player's turn. So maybe your opponent has something like a Fate set down and can banish it, or maybe they go ahead and Treacherous Trap one of their monsters or one of your monsters. So similar weakness to Fur Hires. If your opponent has something to get rid of that first turn normal summon, you're kind of out there. So it's up to you if you want to tech in maybe something like a double summon. Double summon has pretty much been laughed at, but in a deck like this, you can see how double summon could win you a duel. Like, you go second and you have double summon in your hand, you can fill up your field with at least over 2,000 attackers and possibly go for game. So it's just something to think about. Again, I think this deck is going to fit in quite nicely with the Duel Links archetype of just fast-paced dueling, 4,000 life points, bring out some big bodies, end your opponent. So that's about it for my UA review. What do you guys think of the UA? What tier do you guys think is going to land at? Are you going for UA? Maybe you're going to sit back and wait and see some other UA players out there take charge, take lead, and trial and error and see if it's something you really want to invest in. But this is going to be one of the better tiers coming out of this box for cheap. This is going to be cheaper than Mermail, so maybe that's something that draws you to it. But like I said, that's going to be it. This is your boy Wolf, and I am out.